Hello friends, and welcome. Today I'll be doing the art for my April reading journal, and I'll be using watercolor and colored pencil to do a painting/drawing of California poppies. And this is the test page that I did in my sketchbook that I'll be basing this painting on. I just want to welcome any new subscribers that I have. I just had my last sketchbook video kind of blow up. Not by normal YouTube standards, but by the standards of my tiny little channel, it blew up. So thank you for being here if you're new. A quick note about what I do on this channel. The sketchbook videos and flip-throughs and also some pastel and painting videos, things like that, are a little bit newer to this channel, but I'm really glad that everybody liked that sketchbook video because that's kind of the direction that I want to go in. That's what I'm really enjoying doing lately, so I want to add more of that to my channel. However, how I originally started this channel is by doing art in my reading journal. So my reading journal is kind of like a sketchbook because I do original art every month when I do the setup, and each month has a theme. So that's what you're seeing here. So it's kind of a combination of the two things that I love the most, which is doing art and reading. As always, if you have any questions about what materials I'm using, all those will be linked in the description box. And now let's get into the process a little bit more. So for this painting, I'm going to be doing watercolor as the base color layer, and then I'll be doing a very loose, colorful, sketchy style of color pencil over top of it when it dries. And you'll see I have a pencil line down the middle. So the left-hand side of this is going to be the main illustration of the cover page for the month of April. So that's just going to be one big painting. And then on the right-hand side, all of those poppies that I'm making on that side, I'm going to cut them out individually and kind of paste them in different parts to decorate the rest of the spreads. Right now, the California poppies are blooming where I live. And they're my favorite wildflower. They've got such a luscious, vibrant orange color. And orange is one of my absolute favorite colors to use, especially in my artwork. It gives such a nice pop to things. And right now, I'm really into using a lot of vibrant, bright color and using a lot of complementary colors together. The art for my reading journal from last August was actually wildflower themed as well, and the California poppy was the main illustration image at the beginning for that. But I used a very desaturated color palette, and I used marker for the base color, and then it was pen sketch on top. So I will leave a link for that if you'd like to see how I did that one as well. I'm using better watercolor paper than I did for my paper lantern paintings from last month. I just found this again. I forgot that I bought it. So this is a 100% cotton water paper block, and it's called a block because it's a stack of watercolor paper that's glued around all the edges, and so it holds all the edges down. You don't need to tape it down to a surface or anything, and it keeps it from buckling while you're working on it. And then once everything's completely dry, you can remove it. And it gives you a nice flat, solid surface to work on also. So when the painting part is finished, I'll just wait for it to dry 100%, and then I will get started in on the color pencil. But first, I need to sharpen some of my pencils, and I have recently switched to sharpening my colored pencils using a craft knife like this. And that's because no matter how many different pencil sharpeners I've tried, they all seem to break the tips. So these are very, very soft colored pencils. It's a Prismacolor Scholar, but the Prismacolor Premier is also very soft. And I don't think that there are any pencil sharpeners that can really work with them correctly. And this watercolor paper is cold pressed water paper, which is a little bit rougher, has more texture than hot pressed water paper. So it is gonna make these colored pencils have a lot of texture and kind of almost look crayon-y as I'm using them. I really love to use my colored pencils in a very scribbly way. I am a scribble proponent. So I have so much fun. There's something very, very satisfying about doing things in kind of a messy, fast, loose way. And this method is actually very beginner friendly. So if you want to try it out, you can use either watercolor as the background, or you can also just use marker. The one that I did in my sketchbook was just water-based marker in the background because that's not watercolor paper, but you can do it either way and it works just fine. And you don't have to worry about being accurate at all when you're laying down your base color. So you just kind of want to slap it down there in the general area of where the colors should be. And you want to use very simple colors and not get into detail with that because you're going to do all the detail and outlines and things with whatever your top layer is. For your top scribbly layer, you could use whatever you like to use. So it could be crayon, pastels, colored pencil, a pen, different colors pen would be nice. You could even just use a regular graphite pencil or black pen if you wanted to. And you don't need to worry about the white spaces and the white gaps in the background. We kind of like that. It makes it more interesting visually. As I go along here, I'm going to start out with the expected colors for these flowers, which is orange and green. And then once I have a little bit of that down, I'm going to start adding some more unusual colors, I guess. Colors that aren't really there in real life that you wouldn't notice. So I'm going to use complementary colors. A complementary color for orange is blue. And although when you're looking at one of these poppies, you might not think about blue as being one of the colors that you're seeing, when you add a complementary color next to one of your main colors, it really emphasizes that color and helps it to really pop. And doing these leaf outlines was my favorite part of this. It was just so fun to kind of let my fingers just wibble wobble all over the place as I was making these shapes. As I go along in the process of this artwork, you're going to see a little bit later that something that I still struggle with, and something that many beginner and intermediate artists struggle with, is overworking things. One of the things that distinguishes a really good artist from the rest of us is that they have a really good sense of when they need to stop. And that is something that takes a lot of experience to know how to do, and to have a good enough eye to look and see and say, okay, this, if I add anything else to this, it's going to make it worse. So a little bit later on, you're going to see with this main illustration on the left-hand side of the page that it's going to get a little bit messy and too busy right in the middle where all the stems are. And, you know, you get into the groove of just adding all these strokes and you're having a good time and you're not paying attention, and then all of a sudden it's like, oops, that is too much there. I shouldn't have done that. But then when I move on to the right hand side of the page, since I'm warmed up and I kind of have a better idea of what I'm doing, I'm able to leave more of the watercolor showing on that side, and I think that those ones end up looking a lot better, even though I still like how this main painting turned out. I didn't maintain my good methods that I used last month when I was doing that other watercolor painting, and that is to don't do the main focus painting first. Do the small secondary stuff first, get warmed up, get a feel for everything, and then do your big like focal point painting. And for whatever reason, I just forgot to do that this time. So the smaller ones look a little bit better. And you'll see that I just came in with that really bright blue. I believe it's permanent blue. And now I'm using a darker bluish purple color. I think that one is called porcelain blue, to do some of the shadows and things. And also I cut that part of the video out, but I did also come in with a yellow and a bright chartreuse green and did some little scribblies in the background and around the leaves as well. Now that we're about halfway through the video, I'm just going to take a little moment to say that if you've been enjoying yourself, please consider helping my small channel out by liking and commenting. Hop down in the comments section and let me know what your favorite flower is, if you have a favorite flower. And if you don't have one, or you just don't feel like writing anything, just drop me any flower emoji. Now I'm just going to add a few finishing scribbles around the edges, and then we're going to move on to the right-hand side of the page. So I'm going to do this side in a very similar way, except that I'm going to move a little bit faster, and I am not going to cover up as much of the watercolor with the colored pencil. And while you watch this second set of drawings, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the California poppy from the California Fish and Wildlife Service and the Irvine Ranch Conservancy. On March 2nd, 1903, the California poppy, Eschscholzia californica, became the official state flower of California. The plant's bright orange flowers are an unmatched symbol of the Golden State, perhaps viewed as a floral representation of the fields of gold sought during the gold rush. The California poppy is commonly seen blooming in the spring and summer along country roads and freeways throughout much of the state, making this plant a highly recognizable symbol of California, and April 6th of each year is officially designated as California Poppy Day. The California poppy is native to California, extending to southern Washington, Mexico, and northwest Baja California. The common annual and perennial species is known for its bright orange, sometimes yellow, silky petals and blue-green foliage. The cup-shaped flower has a unique feature, allowing a circadian rhythm in response to darkness. The plant basically sleeps or closes up when the sun goes down and during cloudy weather. This natural phenomenon is not seen in many plant species, and it is still undetermined why it happens. The California poppy draws crowds of thousands to Southern California every year, especially during rare super blooms. Beyond being just pretty to look at, California poppies also play a crucial role in our native habitats. The flower is a vital food source for a variety of creatures, including birds, small herbivores, butterflies, bees, and other important pollinators. This, in turn, supports the rich biodiversity that thrives within our ecosystems. As I finish up this drawing, one thing that I will do off camera right after this is add a little bit of permanent green to some of the leaves, so you will see a little bit of an extra green color when you see the finished result later on. Now that our drawing is complete, I can remove the top page off of this watercolor block. So I'm just using a palette knife, slipping it in between the top page and everything else, and then running it along the side to detach it. Now we're going to get into the assembly section of the video. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to keep that left-hand picture intact, and I'm going to cut up these other flowers into little individual sections, and I'm going to use them almost like how you would use stickers to decorate a journal spread. So I will be able to kind of move them around and arrange them however I want to give a little bit of decoration to the areas where I'm going to write in this reading journal. I'm going to use an Elmer's Craft Bond glue stick to adhere everything to the pages of my reading journal. And this notebook is just a hardcover dot grid notebook. What I'm not showing in this video is that every time I pasted some of these into the notebook, I would take a little break and close it and put a very heavy book on top of it for like 10 or 15 minutes so that glue could have time to adhere, because the watercolor paper is a lot thicker than the pages of the notebook and it would start to curl up from the glue, and it just wasn't adhering correctly unless you weight it down for a little bit. For the April title and any other labels that I'm making for this setup, I'm using this brown craft sticker paper that has a backing that you can peel off, and then I'm using the permanent green colored pencil to do the lettering, and then I just used another blue colored pencil to do a little bit of an outline to make it more visible. Then I'll just cut them out and stick them in like stickers. So the left-hand side of this spread, I'm just going to leave it exactly how it is. It's just going to be that main painting / drawing. And then the right-hand side of this spread is going to be my reading calendar. So for each month, I like to have a little calendar where I can keep track of which days I've read which book. And instead of doing a traditional style calendar with the boxes, I'm just doing a vertical layout. So I just need a rectangle, which I'm just drawing here with a tan marker. And then I'll write the numbers 1 through 30 down the left-hand side. And that makes it easier for me to just draw a bar down vertically across whichever days I need to mark for each book. The last thing I'm going to do to finish up this spread is glue in a couple of those individual flowers for decoration on this right-hand page, and then I'll just stick in those April letters to finish up the title. After that, we'll flip over to the next page and we will quickly do a statistics and a book cover page. Sorry for the weird lighting right here. It's just for this one clip. I don't know what happened. Anyway, the left-hand page is going to be my statistics page, and then the right-hand page I will print out and stick in the covers of the books that I read in the month of April. And there's various different statistics I like to record. Things like the number of pages, the average rating I gave them, what countries the authors might be from, what kind of representation, what kind of language the book was written in, things like that. You can see I had just made 2 vertical rectangles with that same brown marker, and I don't really plan out where I'm going to put things inside of these spreads ahead of time. I'll just make a couple of boxes or circles or whatever I feel like doing in that particular month. And then at the beginning of the following month, when I do my reading wrap-up video, that's when I'll just stick whatever statistics in there that I can fit nicely in whatever format I have made. So that's how I do these reading journal videos. Each of these monthly spreads has 2 separate videos. One at the beginning of the month where I do the art and the setup, like this one, and then one at the beginning of the following month where I will put all the book cover pictures in, write my reviews, and put all the statistics in. The following pages after this particular spread, I will write some book reviews in, but I won't do the decoration for those until I know how many books I have read for the month of April, so I'm going to leave those blank for now. And that pretty much wraps things up. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had an enjoyable time and found it relaxing, and I also hope that you'll join me in the future and see what other kind of artistic things I come up with. Please take care of yourself and take care of the people around you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.